Hello, everyone. Greetings. Hi, everyone that's in the shop. If you know what's going on, I'm about to tell you. So, my name is Cesar, and I'm with the Shortbox Podcast, Jacksonville's #1 pop culture and comic book podcast.
Yay!
Thank you. If I do say so myself, and I did. Bonner Milligan is also one of the co-hosts, so don't let him fool you. He's sitting there right there. I say co-host because I get to actually kick this thing off without him looming over my shoulder like the intense dark shadow he is.
I suck. What?
But part of being in this podcast and being a part of the comic book scene, I get to be a part of things like this today, which I have the honor and privilege of standing too close to the speaker, and I'm going to sit down back here.
We'll mess with it.
That said, I get a chance to talk with a lot of creators of all kinds of media, including the one that I admire the most, which is comic books. And it's my distinct privilege and honor to talk with such folks as I mentioned earlier. This is kind of I guess the first leg in a book signing musical tour that's going to be, well, where are you guys going?
Let me see if I can remember. All right. So, Jacksonville, Orlando, Charlotte, DC, Philly, New York, Pittsburgh, Chicago,
Yes.
St. Louis, Dallas, Austin, New Orleans.
This is impressive.
Correct.
So, you can see that this is a big deal. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to talk about a comic called Little Girls. And I think the title is maybe perplexing some of you. Maybe you're interested. Good, that's what it's supposed to do. If you guys wouldn't mind maybe introducing yourselves one at a time and your respective roles in the comic book.
I am Nicholas Aflleje. I'm the writer of Little Girls.
I'm Sarah DeLaine, and I'm the artist.
And I'm Lanni, and I just showed up at the end and colored everything.
No.
Very humble.
Yeah.
So, without really, I guess, getting into spoiler territory, what would you say this book is about?
Well, there is a thing that I usually do to my artist, where I see if she can actually do a summary of it to see if she actually paid attention to what she was drawing. So we're going to see how far she's come. Are you ready?
I'm going to try.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to try. Okay.
Let's see.
It's the story of two new friends, and one of them, Sam, has just moved to a new place again because she moves around a lot. And this place is Harar, Ethiopia, and she meets a new friend named Lilet, and they hit it off, and they do some investigating into some rumors about a local monster.
Well, that was very, except for the actually local.
Oh yeah, she's actually not local. She's actually traveled a bit to get there. You're right.
You did it, that's good. That is correct. That's correct.
Did you want to say something, Ashley?
It's funny because me and Sarah kind of came together over this book, and we had our own hitting it off, being like really close friends really fast, working on this giant project.
So, in a book about friendship with girls, you guys lived it out in creating it then.
I'm going to say something right now about this because I was there at the Genesis. What happened is Sarah saw Ashley's art, and she's like, oh wow, that's so good, I want to become her friend, but that sounds really creepy. I don't know, to just try to become her friend because I love her art. And I'm like, you can just tell her you love her art. She's like, I don't know. And then she did, and they did become fast friends, but she was so nervous. And Sarah's not usually nervous about stuff, but she liked Ashley's art so much that she was kind of fangirling out really hard about it.
Yeah.
It was a convention, and she showed me this picture of this horrifying hyena monster, and I was like, okay, we're friends now. It was so cool. I was like, you drew this? Yeah, we're friends.
So that's how you meet friends, is you show them scary things.
That's exactly how we got Ashley on the short box. Like, we creeped on her like, your art is awesome. Will you talk into a microphone for us every Sunday? We promise we won't wear your skin.
So now everybody knows that if you want to become Ashley's friend, you just have to fall in love with her art, and it's really easy, and then she'll become your friend.
It is easy to fall in love with her art, I will say that.
There is a pinup of it in the back of the book as well, if you want to see an example.
So, as far as the setting is concerned, because I remember I sent you a extensive message about, these are the questions I'd like to ask you, and I'm going to go into depth and whatever. But, again, I just realized, like, oh man, that would kind of give away some stuff. So I'm now trying to not spoil it while I ask very poignant questions. The culture. There's a lot of culture in this book and a lot of social stuff going on. What was going through you guys' head when you were like the creative process for this? Because it's an unusual setting.
Well, as I was saying before, the reason why it's set in Harar is because how we created this book. Sarah said she wanted a script for her strengths. And then, as I said before, I found that extremely inspiring, so I ran out and I wrote this whole graphic novel, and then I gave it to her without warning, and she was very nice about it. She wasn't mean about the fact that I gave her a 176-page novel as the first thing she would work on in comics, but she wanted it on her strengths, and things that she really loves is the natural world. She was a big fan of Beatrix Potter. She came into comics later than a lot of people, and so her influences are very different than a lot of other people's. But yeah, the natural world, she liked drawing horror things. It's always a joke that her friends say that she's a horror comics artist, even though that's not always her genre for movies and stuff. She enjoys it, but it's not her favorite. However, in drawing, she loves to do that. So we knew it had to be in Harar, Ethiopia, because there was, we were going to have the Nandi bear in it. That is a cryptid, whether it's rumor or not, because I don't want to spoil anything, but for those of you who've looked through the book, you already know there is a weird creature in it, so that's not really spoiling that much. Once we knew that that was going to be the case, we knew that the Lion-Hyena Wars were going to be a part of it, and once that happened, is one of the worst lion-hyena altercations that ever occurred were an hour out of Harar, Ethiopia.
Wow. Okay. Heavy.
So that,
I like it.
unfortunately, didn't mean to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was probably the best gift to be given, was the script for a whole graphic novel that was written just for me to draw. That's such a cool thing. And
You're being nice now.
No, and no, and it's and like he said, I hadn't done comics before, so this was, I mean, I had like, you know, done like short things just to try, but this was the first real comic that I had made, so I jumped right in.
So this is the first time you ever like done a comic for real?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you knocked it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go team.
170 pages. Here you go.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Parker. Is this the first time for you, Nick?
Yeah. This is the first graphic novel that I wrote. I was very happy with how it turned out, because as I said before, I really enjoyed how she said, could somebody write? She just said it as a throwaway thing. I wish somebody would write it for my strengths, and then I found that really inspiring. So using those kind of obstructions, it made me write something that I really fell in love with. I was really happy with it. We kind of also wrote it as a weird letter to her former self, like if she would have found comics at that like special age that a lot of people talk about, like at 13 or 14, what Sam and Lila in the book are. Like it was kind of written to the ghost of Sarah's former self. Yeah.
Little time travel right there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the first time you guys? It's the first time you guys have all worked together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as collaborating is concerned, what was that like? Did you guys all have to be in the same room at the same time? Because there's another person that worked on it, Adam Wallet, who is not here.
Also
and,
Jacksonville.
Yes.
Just imagine him here.
Yeah, well, Adam is also no stranger to the Short Box, as he was once a respected host. So I'm kind of curious as to what the working dynamic looked like, as far as like, all right, you get a page, now you color, or how do we letter, or how does that work for somebody who doesn't know anything about putting a comic together?
Well, first off, I got the script. This was a while ago now. I got the script. We talked about it a lot before we even really before I started drawing. Did a lot of research. And then, you can't just jump right in. I don't know, there might be some people that don't know how making comics goes that much. So you have to storyboard it out and play around with how the story beats are gonna go and stuff. But, there was a lot of that kind of tension and, the scary stuff that was already built into the script. So I just had to make sure that the emotions of it and the place felt right. And so we did a lot of talking about that. And then Ashley and I would meet up for coffee and talk about all kinds of things. Not necessarily just making comics, but just lattes and stuff.
This was all just a clever ruse.
Just so we could go out and have coffee.
That's what's there. We just happened to
Basically.
accidentally make a comic, I think.
But a lot of it, when it was with the coloring and the lettering, it came down to just emailing files back and forth and stuff like that too. So, yeah.
And they were really good about just being like, hey, well, Sarah's like, well, this is what I'm picturing, but do whatever you want. Honestly.
Yeah.
She had very specific ideas, but
Yeah.
she also was okay with collaborating.
She's like the opposite of Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
She's the opposite of Alan Moore.
That's awesome. So, and I got a comment after, like, Botter had given me the book to read, and he's like, oh, hey, check this out, dude. I thumbed through it, of course, and I said, I wonder how much Sarah's into horror. Because you definitely play to your strengths there. There are some things there, like if you like horror, if you like coming of age stories, like all that stuff mixed together, this is the book. Like, no joke, because I read it, I was like, okay, because I have no soul, and I love horror, and this touched my heart, man. That's all I gotta say. So yeah, but long story short, I could tell, like, okay, I wonder how deeply involved in the macabre she is as far as her drawing is concerned.
What's funny about that is, like Nick was saying, I don't actually watch that much horror, film, or really, I really don't. But for some reason, it just comes out. I don't know.
Call the police.
No, she really enjoys details. I know other artists like to joke with her, like every blade of grass, and loving detail in this work. If you look in it, you'll see everyone is meticulously rendered. So of course, I think it lends itself really well to the horror genre.
It's true.
Yeah, where every little bit of spittle and every extra tooth and
Yeah. Oh, the textures are great.
and the
Noticed.
eye boogers.
Yes.
Eye boogers
He's not
in the
lying. There's
picture.
eye boogers in there.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
it's true.
Ashley's really well acquainted with those eye
With eye
boogers,
boogers?
too.
She had to color them.
Oh, we talked about the eye boogers.
The color of eye boogers.
Guys, we're getting into
They're
eye
checking
boogers.
right now,
Look,
so
look,
people-
let's look at.
There's eye boogers.
There's eye boogers on this one.
Yep.
There he is.
Yep, that's the
That was the
splash page of the eye boogers.
That was the page she showed me, and I was like, we're friends now.
Gorgeous.
This is how we reach out to the kids, guys.
Eye boogers.
So speaking of artists, then, and this is a question for all of you guys: what are the artists / writers / creators that influenced you the most, and not just for this book?
I would actually, for this book, I would say a big one, because I love the pacing and like the sense of mindfulness that was in it, was Tick on Concrete or Black and White, depending on who. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, just a really good sense of pacing and pace. I believe that's Miyamoto. I think that's his name. But that one, just how it would have a sense of a much more abstract friendship, but like the art in it is very detail oriented. That one is actually specifically for this one. I love it overall, but that was a heavy influence on this one for comic whatnot.
Well, as far as my art goes, like he was saying, early influences were like really Beatrix Potter. Not comics artists necessarily, because I started drawing a lot earlier than I knew about comics. I just didn't really have comics in my life when I was growing up. I just didn't really know about them. I thought it was all superheroes, and I thought that wasn't for girls necessarily. So, and nobody was handing me comic books saying, "No, you can read this too." So I just didn't know, and but I did like a lot of books, and I liked a lot of art. So things that had that really natural illustration style, like Beatrix Potter. But also, I mentioned this a long time ago. I remember I mentioned David the Gnome being.
Yo, David the Gnome put me onto some scary episodes.
That
Just
was-
like twisted show.
That was real.
It was real.
That was a brutal series finale for anybody who saw that. If you get into David the Gnome, be ready for a brutal series finale, and you don't think that's going to come from David the Gnome, but it will.
Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily see in comics. But once I did get into comics, Mobius and
There you go.
like Junji Ito and stuff like that.
Okay, let me comment. I got a comment. So when I was reading this, in my mind, it was like the style was a mixture of Junji Ito and a tiny bit of R. Crumb.
Oh,
So, with the detail, right,
Yeah, yeah.
and the textures. So, not necessarily as the people, because your characters are much prettier than anything R. Crumb usually designs. Like
His people aren't usually
very kind of
cute.
crusty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much cuteness.
But Junji Ito's work is very detailed as well, and I noticed it. So
And scary.
it's cool that you and it's cool that you brought that up. So I was like, ooh,
yeah.
my wheelhouse.
So my favorite colorist is Elizabeth Brentweiser. She has this real painterly approach, and it was funny because this book didn't need that, because the inks were so detailed and so amazing, and there was already like light and shading and texture and all this stuff that I would normally have to do in the colors. So I'd pretty much just kind of, if I needed time to myself, I would like look at her artwork and just get excited about being a colorist. And then I'd like pump myself up, and then I would just sit down and work on the book. But like the landscapes and everything in here are crazy. Like I ran through 2 flatters because like I wore the first one out. Like he just stopped coloring in rocks and stuff. So I was like, I guess I gotta go to somebody else because it's just so detailed. But yeah.
So in case you all don't know, a color flatter goes in and does like the initial layers for the colorist to work on.
Yeah.
Just so you know. But yeah, you knocked it out of the park with all that.
It took a long. I'm happy that it's finished. I'm happy that I survived it.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, I know you guys are doing a tour, and it also involves music as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, one of the big things to the 2 protagonists is they often talk about starting a band as they're going through their adventure. They talk about the ideas of what they're going to name their band, how their music's going to work, what lyrics and things like that. So since that was an essential part of this book, we decided that it would also be pretty fun as well to have bands at every stop that we do this book tour. And so we have a lot of bands that I have great respect for, and some have a very special place in my heart as well. And they'll be playing all over comic book shops all over the country.
Who is it?
Let's see. For Charlotte, we've got Petrov and Pullover. There's a lot for each one, so this will be a second.
Oh, fair enough. And I noticed the alliteration, so that was.
And of
pretty
course
cool.
here, there's Glazed and Sleepless. They'll be here in a couple, in about, at what time is it? They'll soon. For whoever,
6:26.
yeah. And they're amazing. They're Jacksonville stalwarts, and you should stick around for that. We also have a donations bucket for them as well, because you should support local music any way you can. They might have merchandise too, so do that as well.
As you guys are supporting right now.
Yes,
This is good.
exactly. So yeah, support local, right?
Well, that's cool, because so am I to understand that every different place you go, will there be a different like band lineup?
Yes.
Oh, that's
different local
rad.
bands in each place.
Oh, that's cool. How did you guys organize that? That seems like very, very hectic.
I have a background in such things, so I knew different bands and ones that would be great for all ages shows.
Okay.
All over the country, so that we have that. We have a lot of old friends who are very excited to be a part of this, and I was very happy to have them too. Yeah, it's all over the board though. Just as long as they're good and or I enjoy them, because I guess good is kind of subjective. So as long as I enjoy them, they're okay. They weren't too destructive as bands who like to kick over stuff a lot.
Okay.
Since it's a comic book shop.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Gotta respect the space. Gotta know your space. So yeah.
Well, that's unusual in the sense that I've never heard of like a book signing where like there's like bands like, all right, stick around after the book signing. Blood Punch is gonna show up. They're not coming. No, Blood Punch not here. Okay.
Blood Punch
It's
canceled.
gonna be a nice, easy band where the music will
No,
be
they're good and they have like really good energy. It's just not bands who they're appropriate for a young adult. Not appropriate, but they can fit within, even if they have adult themes.
So, along the same lines, what was you guys' mindset as far as the audience for this book was concerned? So, like, you mentioned, I think you were talking to an individual out here, and you're like, well, this is a kind of a YA book.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired you to steer it in that direction?
The previous inspiration I said before, that we're kind of calling out to Sarah's former self. So it's that, I mean, the idea is you want a younger reader to really relate to the experiences of the two protagonists in it, but you want older readers to really want to recommend it to somebody it reminds them of. That's the hope, and they enjoy it that way as well.
Okay, well, let's talk about the title then.
Okay.
Because I know that when you are crafting a story, much like forming a band name to solidify a cohesive sort of unifying theme, you need to think of something that captures that. Why Little Girls?
It's the titular line. Somebody says it in a very, in what we thought was in a very tense moment, a climactic time, is that they say little girls. It shows that, well, there's not, I can't say certain parts because it gives things away.
Okay.
But they say it in a very tense part of the book, and it means a lot when they say it. It's a way to kind of denigrate Sam and Lilette, the two protagonists, and yet they might triumph. I can't give them. Yeah, they might, but
Fair enough.
yeah.
So I see both you guys kind of like nodding. What does it mean to you guys? Like, you see the title, does it resonate with you in a different way?
I don't know. I mean, because you doesn't really tell you much about the book. So you just kind of go in, and then I think as you read it, you're like, yeah, this is Little Girls. Like, this is the name of the book. This is what the book should be called.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the two protagonists are girls, and I don't know, it's used, I'm trying not to give too much away.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
No, it's I don't want to say, I feel like it's so cheesy to say like it's girl power or something.
No.
But they are the main characters. They are the heroes of the story. It's all about, at its heart, this is a story about their friendship, and so it's kind of a turnaround, you know. So really, it's kind of celebrating that it's a book about two girls that are friends, and there aren't really that many books that are just two girls being friends, you know.
Yep.
And helping each other out, and
No frenemies.
It's a good
Right.
message.
No
Yeah.
romantic triangles. It's just the genesis of a friendship between two young ladies.
Yeah. It's at its heart, it's a really simple concept, but it's not really done that often. So, I mean, they have lots of trials that they're going through, lots of threatening things around them, but essentially it is about their friendship.
So, along the lines, we talked about the title. Let's talk about the cover. How did you guys decide this is the cover we want for this book? Because I mean, it's beautiful and also a little menacing. So
Thank you.
when you first look at the book, it's like, oh, we got to put a cover on this thing, but also, how does it best quantify what we want to say / how do we get people involved?
Yeah, I really struggled with trying to figure out what kind of cover to do. I think actually it was your idea to do the eyes, and initially we thought about doing lots of hyena eyes, but the one eyes glowing in the dark seemed like it just worked better once the trees were all done.
Yeah.
So the trees, Ashley knows this, but the trees are actually this much bigger piece of art where there's even more trees and even more leaves and plants and little tiny bits and pieces that she had to color all up.
That's great.
Yeah, when I first saw it, it was crazy detailed because it was just, ink, like thousands of leaves and like all these trees, and I didn't even know where to get started. And it was just kind of like, okay, well, this is at night, and I knew it was going to be the cover, so I just kind of worked with, tones that I thought would be like kind of creepy. But to be honest, it didn't really like come together until I saw it with the eyes in there. Like
Yeah.
it looked amazing, and then I saw it with the eyes, and I was like, oh dang, this is so cool.
I do like how if you look at the back, the lion is kind of, it's a wraparound cover, so the back kind of is part of the whole thing. And the lion is looking over at those eyes like, oh crap.
No, yeah, and we also really liked how it contrasted the title with the final cover. It's evocative. What did they? It gets the people going.
There it is.
It gets
I was
the people
waiting.
going.
I was waiting. So wait, so who made the final call? Like, who decided, like, that's it?
I think I'm probably the pickiest one out of all of us. Like, really, I mean, if you've seen the art, you probably know, like, I get really into the details.
You don't say.
So you can probably tell, but I guess probably as far as like the final finished, okay, this is done, that was probably me. But initially your idea, and then you made it just work. You made our idea come to life.
Her
So
coloring gave it the menace because it
Yeah.
was black and white and it had like
Yeah.
fun shading, but the coloring brought the menace that really brought it
it
together.
sets the mood.
Yeah, gets the people going.
Yeah.
So, the book is about friendship, no frenemies, no romantic sort of trial or tribulation.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was cool. I genuinely dug that because I was wondering, like, okay, you're right. It is unusual. It's mostly all of those tropes get thrown in to that kind of a story, and when you hear the word friendship, by the way, you don't have to worry about a answer being corny or cliche because I'm about to ask a really cliche question.
Okay, go for it.
Friendship, what does it mean to you guys? Because it definitely informed the work.
Like personally, our
Yeah.
friendships?
Sure.
Or like friendship overall?
Two-part question. Jump on it.
Oh my gosh. Great. No. No, well, we were already besties to begin with. So we had a friendship, and I think to make a graphic novel with another person, it takes a long time, and you better be friends and you better be really good friends, because you have to work with each other a lot.
That's good.
But I mean, and we've survived that experience, so good. It's also given me an opportunity to become friends with Ashley. So that's a win. And we, like I said, it's sometimes just an excuse to go get lattes.
Yeah.
This book is an excuse to go.
I remember, like, you would leave, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go meet with Sarah over at
Yeah.
Bold Bean. I'm just like, if I'd have known that's what you guys were doing this whole time, I'd have been like, what?
Oh, we're talking about coloring.
Yeah, sure you were. Well, the reason why I asked is because as well as I do in comics, there will always be that writer-artist team or or a colorer-writer team. Everybody doesn't always get along. like you'll hear like anecdotes of like, oh, this guy was so hard to work with, or I couldn't work with her because she just was so much perfectionist. But it seems like all you guys had a very sort of like, do you want to be friends? Yeah. Do you want to be friends? Yeah. Let's make this art. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Everyone
Yes.
wanted what was best for the book. So when it was like, okay, well, we have to change this, it wasn't like, well, but I don't wanna. It was just kind of like, okay, yeah, it'll make the book look better, like, good call. So it was definitely a lot of, like, respect for each other, going back and forth.
Yeah, I agree. I know I did, and I think everybody else did. We left our egos at the door and just tried to make the best book we could.
Well, do you guys have anything else you guys would like to add to this?
Stick around to hear some good music, and we'll park ourselves over there to sign books for a little bit if you want to get your book scribbled on.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming out.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Some good music's gonna happen.
All right, everybody. Well, you heard it here. Little Girls is the book. Freaking put your eyes on it. And it was made with respect, with friendship, and with love. So treat it as such. Thank you guys for coming out. Once again, enjoy the comic book shop. And thank you to Coliseum of Comics also for letting us come here.
Thank you, Coliseum.
Absolutely, yeah. To come here, and they've always been very receptive of creators and basically all of us, Botter included, hawking our wares, as it were. So, like they said, stick around. There's going to be some sweet music. Go to that table if you want to have your stuff signed, and good day to you.
Thanks. That's great.
You guys are great. Thank you.